Hello all. Today's reading is going to be a pick a card focusing on the single girl. So if you are a single gal, a single woman, and you just want to know what Spirit has to say to you about, how can you appreciate this time in your life? How can you make the most of this time in your life that you're single? And if you're feeling that you are blocked from romantic partnership and you're wanting that, what does Spirit have to say about what might be blocking you and how to overcome that? For each of the readings, we're also going to be getting some love bomb messages from your higher self, and we're also going to be getting a divine feminine oracle message for each reading. And the tarot deck that I'm going to be using today is the Everyday Witch Tarot, although we, just to have examples of these cards that you're picking from, I am also going to, have some versions of these from different decks for you to look at. Because as you choose your reading today, I want you to think about, first of all, if you're just drawn to any particular card, here we have the Queen of Wands, the Nine of Pentacles, the High Priestess, the Queen of Swords, and the Star. So just if you're drawn to something, then that would be the reading for you. You can also probably watch multiple readings here, and I think that would be okay. But also, if you tend to notice that you show up as one of these cards on a regular basis, so if you often find that you're represented by the High Priestess card when you get tarot readings, or if you're doing readings for yourself, then you might want to pick this card because there will be a particular message for each of these. For the Queen of Swords, for example, like what is it about the Queen of Swords personality that tends to have her being single more often than not? So for each of these cards represents a tarot archetype that tends to be more of a single woman. Not necessarily always single, but maybe tends to be single. And so if for whichever reading you pick, I'm going to explore more, like why, for example, would the Star card tend to be more of a single lady, for example. So you can go ahead and be picking your reading, and of course the timestamps will be in the description and in the top of the comments section. But just as an overarching card for everyone here, this is from Lucy Cavendish's Mermaid Oracle deck. And this is called the Selkie and Her Skin. So the Selkie is a mythological, kind of an elemental creature similar to a mermaid. Comes out of Scottish mythology. And I just recently learned about this myth, even though I'd seen the card before. The book for this deck doesn't really go that much into depth about the myth itself, but so apparently the myth is that there are these creatures called Selkies, which are again similar to mermaids, but they kind of look like seals. And if a human man comes across a female Selkie and steals her skin, then she has to go home with him and basically be married to him and, raise his children and cook and clean for him. So it's sort of symbolic of the marriage experience and, symbolic of what women give up in those kinds of relationships, how they might feel that they have to compromise themselves or lose some sense of their identity. So, I think it's just a sort of a reflection on why, being in a partnership for women especially, especially women who are involved in partnerships with men, how, patriarchy and gender norms, gender expectations, how all of those things affect us when we make those kinds of decisions. And for some of us, I feel like it is a little bit more difficult of us to be willing to give up our skin, so to speak. So anyway, that's going to be the guiding card for everyone here today, no matter which reading you choose. But I'm going to go ahead and get into the readings. So we're going to start out with the Queen of Wands. Let me put these other ones to the side here. figure out, I'm going to pause this just a moment. Okay, reading number 1, the Queen of Wands. I'm going to show you a few different versions of the Queen of Wands. This is from the Cosmic Tarot. I really love this. I think this really captures the personality of the Queen of Wands archetype. And here we have the Queen of Wands from the, I believe this is the Steampunk Tarot. And so she's very sporty, athletic, got her little sunflower. You often see sunflowers in the symbolism for the Queen of Wands cards. The Queen of Wands, you know, this can represent someone who is a fire sign, like an Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius, but it doesn't have to. It also just symbolizes someone who has that kind of fiery personality. Generally someone who's creative, who, you know, might be outgoing, or at the very least is just friendly, someone who's kind of flirtatious even. So why does the Queen of Wands often find herself single? Well, we already mentioned that she tends to be flirty. This also is a kind of a woman who is very open to having friendships with many men, and that can be intimidating to a man who's interested in her. You know, she can be in conversation talking to the guy that she likes and be saying, oh yeah, my friend Tony and I are, you know, going to the mall this weekend, or, and then, you know, my friend Billy and I are doing such and such. And it was, you know, and she can just go on with these stories and not even realize the impression she's giving to a man who's interested in her, and how intimidating that might be to them that she has these male friends. This is also a woman who really likes her freedom. She really needs to be free to do what she wants to do. And of course, when you are in a relationship, a lot of times you find yourself having to give up freedom. So, you know, she's fiercely independent. She wants to be free to follow her ambitions in life. So yeah, I mean, I think that's why she often finds herself single. So let's ask, the first question we wanted to ask is, let me find my notes here. Okay, so let's ask Spirit, what should you appreciate about your experience right now in your singlehood, your experience now as a single lady? Let's spray a little bit of sage. This is sage with some rose essential oil in it as well. I think it's a good combination. So again, we're using the Everyday Witch Tarot deck. And we're just asking Spirit, you know, what do I need to appreciate about this time in my life? Oh, well, I have the Lover's card. We're just going to pick 3 cards from a Lover's card, 2 of Cups, interesting, and the Hermit. Okay, I mean, my immediate impression of this is just you need to appreciate that this time that you have alone, this time that you have as a single, because you're not really alone. There are other people in your life. There are other things going on in your life. But you're not in a relationship. And Spirit is saying what you need to appreciate is, you know, being single right now really gives you the option to see who's out there and really make the best choice, you know. The Lover's card is all about choices. The 2 of Cups is about who we connect to. And of course, the Lover's card is about love and relationships as well, as the name of the card implies. So with these 2 cards together, it's like, you know, you're single. It's sort of like you're browsing, you know. What's the benefit of not having purchased your ideal home yet? Is that you get to still browse and look and take time deciding what your ideal house would be if you're in the market for a house. So not to think of relationships in a materialistic way per se, but, you know, just as a metaphor, if you're looking for the ideal mate, this allows you time to really think about what kind of person would really most balance you out. What do you most need out of a relationship? What do you truly need? I was watching this video the other day, like this relationship or love advice video, and they were saying, you know, when you think about what you want in a mate, think about you know, when I'm 75, when when we're like in our 70s or 80s, what am I going to need out of this partnership then? You know, choose someone who's still going to be able to provide you that for the long term. If marriage is what you're looking for, if you're just looking for a casual relationship, then still, you know, it's thinking about what do I most want and need, you know, so that I can have clarity when it comes to making the right choice. And then the Hermit card again, it's like just appreciating this is a time to do that inner seeking. You know, at this time you can really focus on yourself and your own needs. You don't have to worry about your partner's needs because you don't have a partner right now. Your partner is you, so you're doing what's best for you right now. It's a good time to, you know, to really work on your spirituality as well. So next we want to ask, how can we best take advantage of this time of not being in a partnership? It's funny, I'm getting a lot of romance-oriented cards for you. So you have the Knight of Cups, which is all about chivalry and romance. The Two of Pentacles, and the Empress. So the question was, how do we take advantage of this time of independence? The first message I feel like I'm getting with the Empress card is that there are things that you need to give birth to, for one thing. You know, there are acts of creation, things that you are needing to manifest and bring about in your life. You need to be someone who's creating your life right now and not creating it from the idea that someone else is going to be providing it for you, but with the knowledge that you can provide everything that you need. You don't need someone else in order to feel loved. You can love yourself. And that's how you can know that you're loved, regardless of who's in your life or out of your life or what that person is doing. Okay, and the question was, how can we best take advantage of this time of being single? I feel like, again, it's sort of like the same message that we got here. It's sort of like weighing the options, especially if you have people who seem to be showing interest in you. You know, this is a good time to really just weigh out the options and see, you know, what kind of person is really going to allow me to bring these creations into the world in the right way. Some of you might be thinking about wanting to have a child, and so, you know, you need to think about what kind of person are you going to need in order to do that in the way that is most satisfying to you, and the way that provides you with the most happiness and contentment in life. Excuse me. And then if you're feeling blocked from love, what does Spirit have to say about those blocks? So what are the blocks? And how can we move on from the block? So I'm getting the Queen of Pentacles, the Eight of Cups, and the Eight of Wands. So I feel like this is the block. This is you being able to move on from that block. And this is what happens when you do. So there's a feeling of maybe being very attached to security. Let me try to make this a little bigger. You know, being very focused on the material world and needing material security. Some of you might be particularly focused on career, or maybe you're hoping that a romantic partnership is going to provide you material security, and that might be your focus right now. I'm also being drawn to the grapes, so for some of you, overindulgence is a block for you. I'm just getting that. Grapes, wine. Some people could be overindulging in food and or drink. That's me, I guess. Well, not the drink part, but definitely the food part. But anyway, so those are some of the blocks that are coming forward. For Eight of Cups, it's just about realizing that there are certain things that are no longer serving you. You can't keep putting your emotional energy into a situation that's not giving you anything in return. In the background, my eye is being drawn to these trees that are here in pairs. You know, you need to find someone who you do have this security with. You know, your roots are going to intertwine together with this person, so you want it to be someone that you can, you know, be around for a long time and be happy with and grow with. But some people are so attached to the idea of security that you're really limiting yourself. Some of you might be really attached to, well, it needs to be this specific person, or it needs to happen in this exact certain way. And when we let go of those expectations, what we get is the Eight of Wands. Now, this seems a little bit overwhelming. Here she is on this version of the Eight of Wands. She's got this tornado in the background, and she's trying to juggle all of these things. But it's kind of like saying, if you've been stuck and nothing is going anywhere, sure, you're grounded. Sure, you're making sure you have the money and the financial resources that you need, but, you know, where's the excitement? I feel like some of you are blocked just because you're not open maybe to the excitement or the uncertainty. I think that's more of it. You're very attached to needing to be certain about things. Like, I have to know who's the person. When's it going to happen? You know, all of these questions that you feel like you need to know the exact outcome of everything. And I feel like Spirit is saying the more you let go of that need to know this specific outcome, then the more open you will be to receiving all of these different opportunities and these experiences that are going to be very enriching to you on your journey. Okay, so next we're going to get some messages from your higher self. It's just some loving messages from your higher self. What does your higher self have to say to you about how wonderful you are? These are the Love Bombs Kindness cards. I think they're actually designed to be used kind of like as for random acts of kindness, like to leave them as little messages to people. But I'm using them more as oracle cards. So the first message, your kindness really made my day. So basically your higher self wants you to be aware that you are making people's day through the little acts of kindness. We were just talking about random acts of kindness, and you are someone who is just kind to people in ways that maybe you don't recognize that has a lot of impact on the people who you're doing that for. Kind of a similar message here. You're a gift to those around you. Do you recognize that about yourself? Do you recognize how much of a gift you are to the people in your life? Your higher self would like you to be aware of that. It's okay to make mistakes. It means you're doing something. So I think that's a really great message. And I think it kind of harkens back to what we were looking at in these cards, which is, you know, you might be so afraid of making a mistake or making a wrong choice. And a lot of your reading here was about, you know, it's okay to take your time to make choices. But if you get so hung up on everything needing to be perfect, it has to be the perfect person and the perfect situation and the perfect outcome, and there can't be any struggle or any complication at all. The more you can let go of that idea of perfection, you know, and be willing to make a mistake, then the further along you're going to get in your journey. Okay? So I think those were sweet messages. And then the final little message for you all, I'm sorry, is going to be from the Divine Feminine Oracle deck. Let me just get one of those for you. I'm just going to shuffle it a couple times. sometimes I think that's enough, really. Okay, the card that is coming up for you is Enheduanna, the High Priestess. I am one with my soul, and my soul is a legacy of love. Enheduanna was a high priestess and poet. She held a very powerful position. I don't exactly know what the time zone was that she was a time period, rather, time zone. I don't remember exactly when she was alive. Let's see if it says in the book. But she's best known for writing poetry about a goddess. I can't remember now the name of the goddess that she wrote about. Enheduanna. Let me see. These are not in alphabetical order, and there's like no number on the cards. See, it's a little frustrating to find the reading. Okay, 206. Okay. Okay, it says over 4,000 years ago, the High Priestess Enheduanna wrote, she wrote about Inanna. That was the goddess that she wrote about. She says, whatever enters you is unequaled. Whatever leaves endures. She is the limitless love and the inexhaustible power that moves through us when we merge with the soul. We each have a personal myth. We each have an Ishta Deva, a personal deity who inspires and compels us to bring heaven right here on earth by moving us with the fierce conviction that we're divinely led. She encourages us to integrate our light and our dark, to bring our unconscious aspects of self into consciousness. The High Priestess is often described as the guardian of the unconscious. She is that aspect in all of us that holds the veil of awareness that separates us from our inner depths. She's about merging the awareness of our soul and all the love and power it gives us with our individual personality or ego. She wants you to live and breathe your soul. She wants you to become so intimate with it that there is no longer any separation. And there are no more excuses or apologies for how powerful you are. You are the High Priestess. You are this eternal, she whispers. Your holy heart is this legendary. And the meditation for this card is, what allows me to experience the reality of my soul? So I feel like in talking about bringing heaven to earth, you know, some of you have been focused way more on the earth part of it. And I feel like you're being asked to think about how to bring heaven down into it, and also how to be in touch with your own sense of self and who you are down to the very core of your soul. You know, when you're thinking about who to invite into your life, you also don't want to be forcing some important aspect of yourself to leave. You know, you don't. Often people do that. They try to take part of themselves out of the equation in order to make space for someone else. And I feel like part of the message of this reading for you all is that that would be harmful to you, harmful to the very core of your being to do that. All right. So that was a wonderful reading. Of course, this was more of a spiritual reading, not a who is my future spouse going to be type of reading, which I know you guys like. And I like those readings too. I loved the responses to my last reading that I did. But I hope you all got something enriching out of this one as well. Let me know in the comments. And I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next reading. Thanks, guys. Have a good day. All right. Those of you who chose reading number 2, which was the 9 of Pentacles. First, before we get into asking any questions, I do want to explain, you know, why does the Knight of Pentacles symbolize a single woman? What's the issue with this 9 of Pentacles? Because for years, I have come up represented as this card, and I was always puzzled by it. And I would get this card, I would ask, you know, for example, what would make, you know, this person hesitate from pursuing me? And I would get this card as a response many times. So the Nine of Pentacles is a woman who is able to fully fulfill all of her needs on her own. She doesn't need anyone else. It's not even just that she doesn't need, a spouse or a partner. She doesn't really need anyone. I mean, we all need other people, of course, but in terms of, she can create a full and happy and enjoyable and prosperous life all on her own. So she is intimidating to people who might be interested in partnering with her because they don't know what they could offer her. It's like, what exactly do I have to give her that would actually benefit her in her life when she seems like she's already got it all going on, all on her own. And I think a lot of times people want to feel like they can really add to your life. And especially people who tend to focus more on the material world than they do on maybe their emotional selves. People can forget that, sure, she's happy, she enjoys her life, she has a fulfilled life, but, that doesn't mean you can't still bring her love and attention. So anyway, so that's why she tends to be more of a single card indicator. But she's happy. She's a happy woman. She's got a good life going on for her. So there is nothing wrong with living the single life of the Nine of Pentacles. That is a good life, really. So anyway, we're going to ask a couple of questions here. First, we want to ask the Divine, what do those of you who chose number 2, what do you need to appreciate about this time in your life in which you are single? What do you need to appreciate about your life as a single? We get the Devil card, the Chariot, and the Sun. Well, these are all major arcana cards, so it seems to me like you guys really have a lot going on for yourselves. So what can we enjoy about our lives as a single? What do we need to appreciate more? Well, I mean, to put it bluntly, if you're interested, this is a time when you can explore, kissing or making out or, whatever with multiple people. You're not partnered up with one person. So if that's something that you wanted to explore, you can. And even if you're someone who, doesn't like to engage in physical intimacy outside of a relationship, you can still enjoy, that feeling of attraction without having to be pinned down quite yet into a commitment with somebody. So enjoying that feeling of attraction without guilt is what I feel like the message of that card is. And this came up in the first reading as well, not this same card, but it was about the idea of choice. She has multiple directions that she can move in. And this can signify having multiple relationship partners to choose from. It's also about, I feel like, more so for you guys, this is about being free to choose, the general journeys that you want to take in life. If you wanted to move to another country or, move somewhere just different from where you currently are, you could do that easily. Yes, you can do that also if you're in a relationship, but isn't it a lot easier if you don't have to worry about, what another person wants or needs in a situation like that? So you're a lot more free to make certain choices in your life than you would be if you were in a relationship. So Spirit is just saying that is something that you really need to appreciate because when you do become in a relationship with someone, you're not going to have that ease of choice any longer. You will have to take the other person into consideration. And the Sun is just saying this is a really great time to appreciate your friendships and the joy that you have coming into your life from many directions. I feel like they're saying that those of you who are choosing this reading, you're also just very good at enjoying life and enjoying the moment. And they want to congratulate you on being so able to do that. And they want to congratulate you on not feeling like you need someone else to be providing you with happiness, because you've already come to a recognition that happiness is something that, for one thing, comes from within. And for another, just like the rays of the sun, happiness comes from many different directions. If we're expecting all of our happiness just to come from one little ray of sunlight, when we could be experiencing the whole spectrum here, then we're really limiting ourselves. If you're just relying on one person for all of your joy, if something happened to that person, or if you broke up, would all of your joy disappear? That would be a pretty miserable life, to have to rely on so much of your life experience to be based on just that one person. So Spirit wants to commend you for appreciating all of the joy that you do have in your life. Next, how can you take advantage? It's kind of a similar question, but how can you best take advantage of this time in your life? So we have the Seven of Cups coming up underneath the Devil card, which is kind of like a similar message here. It's a nice time to explore your sensual emotions for people, you can fantasize and not even feel guilty about the fantasy, or you can, actually become physically involved with someone. And of course, there's no need to feel guilt. We also get the Knight of Pentacles and the King of Swords. So how can we best take advantage of this time in your life? The Knight of Pentacles talks about a very slow-moving, methodical energy. So how can we best take advantage of this time to be single? It's sort of like, my feeling is the Knight of Pentacles is always someone who really wants to prepare for their eventual relationship. And they're not someone to rush into a relationship. They definitely look at the long-term picture and they want to lay that firm foundation. So the best way you can take advantage is, I guess, to kind of get your material life in order. As the Nine of Pentacles, I feel like you're pretty good at that already, but they're saying, if you're single and you don't want to be single, but you want to prepare for a time when you're not, make sure your finances are in order. And then the King of Swords, I feel like they're saying this would be a good time to undertake some new form of learning. Let me just get a clarifier for this. And I get another king, the King of Cups. Kings coming up here. This reading was for single women. Some of you watching might be male anyway, and that's totally fine. But I feel like part of the message is kind of accepting the masculine traits that you have. Maybe you're more in touch with certain masculine personality traits, and they're saying this is a wonderful time to become fully accepting of that and really grow into that full sense of who you are as someone who is balanced between your feminine and your masculine aspects. And okay, we're also going to ask Spirit, for those of you who are wanting to be in a relationship and feel like maybe you're blocked, what is the block and how can you overcome it? Okay, so just my first impression looking at this card, the block for some of you, you see these beautiful white doves in the background, and this is the Ace of Cups. This is a card about being in love, falling in love. She has this, I don't know what this is, swirling around her head, but she's like very dreamy in her fantasy world, fantasizing about this beautiful, perfect mystical union, represented by these white doves. It's a very idealistic idea of love, but it's all right now, it's all in her head. She's still here alone. You know, I mean, she has her cat with her, so she's not alone completely, but she's not, you know, she might be in love, but she's not with someone. So I feel like as a blockage, some people, you know, maybe you actually enjoy being single and just thinking about love or just having the emotions without actually being in a partnership. So maybe part of the blockage is internal and you're not even realizing it. For some of you, I think part of it is also because you are in this kind of idealistic mindset about what love and relationships are. And you're expecting perfection when that is not even a possibility for anybody. So I feel like what they're saying is the key to unblocking this is in this world card, where you let go of all those fantasies, and you just accept reality for what it is, and find that when you do that, actual reality is beautiful. There's so much beauty and joy in the world. We don't have to have these unrealistic expectations of love in order to enjoy life. We also don't need to be in a partnership with anyone in order to enjoy life. And I feel like they're saying that if you let go of this fantasy world, and also if you let go of the idea, you know, which I think you're not even conscious of it, but on some level you're happier just having the emotions without the actual relationship, without the actual expectations. The Hierophant here is telling us that when we accept reality more for what it is, that relationships actually involve more than just this fantasy world of lovey-doveyness, and they actually involve commitment and work and effort. You know, the Hierophant is telling us that we can still find that inner balance within ourselves as we learn how to take on those responsibilities and commitments and merge the idea of the lovey-dovey energy with the reality of the work that it takes as well. So both finding balance between that, you know, lovey-dovey Hallmark Channel romance and the real world obligations of, you know, going to work every day and finding the time for each other and that kind of thing. All right. And so finally, when we want to pull 3 cards. These are from the Love Bombs Kindness Cards deck. These are actually intended to be used like as little random acts of kindness to leave them as messages for people, but I'm using them as oracle cards. I actually saw a different reader do this, and I bought the cards because I thought they were so cool. And they're very pretty too. I like the design. So these are messages from your higher self, just loving messages, uplifting messages. Your higher self might be also from your spirit guides or angels. I admire your integrity. I admire your way with words. It's interesting because we had the King of Swords come up earlier, and the King of Swords is very good with words. Your child has excellent manners. Good job. So if you have a child, this is just like a recognition from Spirit about how good of a parent you are. If you're not, I feel like this message, if you're not a parent, I feel like this message is sort of like, you know, you're a good model to children. Maybe you have nieces or nephews or something like that, but you really are a great role model, I would think would be the message if you don't actually have kids. Or maybe you work with children and Spirit wants to recognize that you do a great job with that. Okay, and the final thing that we want to do here is... okay, so we have pulled from this is from the Divine Feminine Oracle deck. We've pulled Inanna, the Queen of Heaven and Earth. I have nothing to hide. I see and accept all that I am. So this is interesting because in the first reading we pulled Enheduanna, who was a high priestess and a poet who actually wrote about the goddess Inanna. So I just find that to be interesting. But let me see what her message is in the guidebook. Okay. All right. So Inanna was a goddess in ancient Mesopotamia. And it says, when your soul selects her card, Inanna goes into the depths of her own unconscious to merge with her twin sister self. She becomes more powerful because she is no longer using conscious psychic energy to keep her shadow or negative attributes hidden deep underground. She courageously descends and faces the aspects of herself that are hard to get to when she's fully dressed or cloaked heavily in the ego. Inanna is an invitation to get naked. She wants us to drop our defenses. She wants us to see how holy and sacred it is to be vulnerable. As above, so below. This is an alchemical adage that suggests heaven and earth are not so separate. It suggests that within us, deep down in the dark cages where we place parts of ourselves, the truths that exist there also exist right here on the surface of our everyday lives. So if we are exerting great amounts of energy to keep from seeing our shadow, it is actually playing a large role in our conscious life. When we can face what we think is dark or negative about us, really embrace it and see it for what it is, a beautiful broken place that's a call for love, then we can emerge more whole. We can marry the light and dark aspects of our being, and in uniting with our twin sister from the depths, we can stop projecting her onto other women. We can see and own the hot mess we often are and not get sabotaged by it. The light must cast a shadow, and the High Priestess is the one who gets called to love them both. And the meditation for this card is, can I love my shadow as much as my light? Can I love my shadow as much as my light? So this really is about coming to a place of full and total self-acceptance. This is about thinking about the worst things you've ever done in your life, the worst thoughts you've had, those parts of yourselves that you find that you cannot love, and coming to a place where you can accept those parts of yourselves. That doesn't mean that you love the fact that you are a hateful person sometimes, but it's about accepting that. It's about saying, okay, I have been hateful at times, for example, and I can't go back and change that now. I can accept the fact that I did it because it is a reality and I have to accept reality. But I also love myself enough, to try to do better. But this is about complete and total self-acceptance. And until you can have that for yourself, you're never going to be able to give that level of self-acceptance to anyone else either. You're also never going to truly allow someone else to accept you if you can't accept yourself first. Okay, so that's excuse me. So thank you all for watching the reading. I hope you got a lot out of it. I'm about to lose my voice. And I'm going to move on to the next reading. Have a great day, guys. All right, reading number 3. Those of you who chose the High Priestess. The High Priestess. This is from the Cosmic Tarot deck. This is from Tarot of the Cat People, their version of the High Priestess. And from the Steampunk Tarot. So we have 3 different representations. I really like the Cosmic Tarot's version. A lot of versions of the High Priestess also represent her with pomegranate, And the Rider-Waite, she has these pillars on either side of her, just to kind of jog your memory about that. But first, let's think about so if you find yourself often showing up as the High Priestess, what does that mean about you? Why is that? How is that affecting your love life? Why does that often mean that you're single? Let me find a way to prop this up. So, for one thing, the High Priestess is very elusive. She comes across as very mysterious. She can be pretty intimidating to people because sometimes she just seems too pure. So it's almost like she's too pure or holy to approach in some way, or too like highly spiritual in a way that is just, I can't think of a better word than intimidating, but so I'm just going to use that word again, I guess. But she comes across as a woman who has, there are a lot of things that are unknown about her. So someone who's interested in you might feel concerned because they have a sense that there's some secret about you, and they don't know what that secret is, but it keeps them a little bit held back or reserved. So the High Priestess is also someone who, she gives off the impression that maybe she would be very difficult to rein in, or like very, very difficult to pin her down into like a committed relationship or a marriage situation, just because, again, she's just so elusive. She just seems like someone who is intent on doing her own thing in life. If you're a Harry Potter fan, Luna Lovegood would be a good example of a High Priestess type personality. But also you could think about, in terms of her perceived purity, what if you were in love with Mother Teresa? Would you feel a little bit intimidated? Probably. Would you feel like, oh, I don't really have a chance with her, she's always going to be too good for me? Yeah, you would probably feel that way about her. So those are some examples of the High Priestess archetype, what that personality looks like in real life. And let's get into the questions. I am going to be using the Everyday Witch Tarot, and we're going to be looking at, what does Spirit want you to appreciate and have gratitude about for this time in your life in which you are not coupled up with anyone. We get the Seven of Cups, which came up in a previous reading, the Ace of Cups, and the Queen of Cups. I feel like the immediate message I'm getting from this is Spirit really wants you to use this as a time to think about, this is some sage spray with a little bit of rose essential oil in it as well. But anyway, Spirit wants you to think about all of the many beautiful ways in which you are a lovable and loving human being. So with that said, in the other readings I've waited till the end to present these, but since Spirit is already telling you need to be aware of all of your many lovable qualities, I just want to go ahead and pull some cards from the Love Bombs Kindness cards for some messages from Spirit about, Spirit's love for you. So this is coming from your higher self, perhaps your spirit guides or angels or loved ones who've passed. It says, I will never forget you. I feel like that is probably particularly a message from someone who's passed on, perhaps an ancestor or someone that you knew in life who has passed. It's a privilege to have you as a friend. So I feel like Spirit is saying that they are aware that you are a very good friend, and it's possible that you're needing a reminder of that right now for whatever reason. And finally, I appreciate the respect you show others. So you're a very respectful person. You're someone who is memorable, and you're someone who's a really good friend. So Spirit wants you to be reminded of those great qualities, and also to continue to think about and be always in the state of mind of appreciating yourself. You have all these wonderful, loving qualities. You express your love so openly, and you give so freely and generously to other people. And you really need to, again, just acknowledge that about yourself and see the beauty of who you are. So how can you best take advantage of this time in your life? Because, there are some things, if you want to be in a relationship, and if you eventually find yourself in one, there are some things about your life that are going to change. So you might miss those things, and there are opportunities you have in your singlehood that you would not have in your life as a person in a partnership. So let's see what Spirit says for this question about how can you take advantage of this time in your life. We get the Ace of Swords. This is the time to do new things, to take on new adventures, to maybe pursue new ideas. Okay, when we get the Ten of Pentacles and the Empress. Okay, so this message kind of came up in the other readings as well. It's sort of a message that, so maybe Spirit wants a lot of you to be using this time in similar ways, but I feel like the message is about, this is a great time to really have clarity about what you want long term in terms of family. Do you want a family? What kind of house do you want to live in? What geographical area? I think this is kind of about really thinking about, how do I want to put down roots? For those of you who chose this reading, children, I feel like, are definitely going to be a part of your life in some way. And I think Spirit wants you to think about what that looks like. Perhaps children are already a part of your life. But for whatever this means for you, take this as an opportunity to gain better clarity about what you want out of life for yourself and your family, including your partner and children, either current or future children. Okay? And if you're feeling blocked from love, what would that block be? How can you move past it? And what are you going to find at the other side of that block once you've moved past it? Okay, so what is the block to love? For those of you who chose this reading, especially paired with the High Priestess, first of all, you're a very spiritual, introspective person. You are someone who actually needs a lot of solitude, which is wonderful. There is nothing wrong with that. But it is, coming through as a block, because of course, when if you're trying to open yourself to the idea of being in a relationship, you have to have space, and part of that is about having time to spend with this other person, which means less time for you to spend with yourself. I think some of you have some hesitation about allowing people into your lives because you're not sure what kind of energy they're going to bring into it as well. So I feel like Spirit is saying that part of the key to this, of course, when you're home, you're alone, you're by yourself doing your own thing, you don't have to worry about whether or not someone else is being nice to you or whether they're being obnoxious. You don't have to worry about socially awkward moments when it's just you. But when there's someone else, of course, you have to, for one thing, you have to be willing to accept their acts of kindness, and that might be hard for you for whatever reason. Maybe you didn't experience that a lot in your childhood. Maybe people weren't always very nice to you, and so you have a bit of a block up. So Spirit is just saying, allow people to be kind to you and trust that people really do care about you and trust that other people do have something to add to your experience of life as well. And what you'll find on the other side of that is, I mean, romance, you know. The more you open up, the more people are going to be able to hand you this cup of love. And also be willing to take the risk to be with you, because you know it's hard for anyone to take the risk of coming forward and making a love offering, you know, whatever that love offering is, and asking you out on a date or whatever. That's a risk in and of itself. But if someone wants to take that risk for you and they sense that you would really just prefer to be alone, or they sense that you have some guard up, or that you have trouble trusting people, it's going to make it even more of a risk for them. So the more you are open and willing to accept love from other people, and to know that you deserve it and that you're worthy of it, and that these people are not trying to trick you, the more that you're able to do that, the more that love will be able to find its way to you. And so finally, we just want to look at a card from the Divine Feminine Oracle book and see what our Divine Feminine friend has to tell us. This one is Akilanda, the goddess of never not broken. Everything happens for my liberation. I choose to become only more love. Well, this really seems to resonate with what we were talking about in these cards specifically. And I already got the feeling before that some of you have been kind of broken by life. I think a lot of you have had difficult childhoods, and it's really blocked you from love and blocked you from understanding that you truly deserve love. So that is a lie that you have been led to believe that you need to let go of. Let's see what else the book has to say about this oracle card. Okay, it says Akilanda represents the essence of the phoenix. She's the indestructible energy that embraces change. She knows that everything is conspiring to transform her into only more love and light. That's a beautiful message. Akilanda is a goddess from Hindu mythology. Her name means female power or goddess, and never not broken. So she is the goddess of never not broken. She can never be broken because she always is. She is the embodiment of what we try to avoid, the dissolution of our ego's identity. Her power is unparalleled. She radiates the potent light and joy that's the goal of change, transformation, or pain. There is very little written about her. She is meant to be known through experience. She is an intimate interior goddess that we meet when we are in the darkest moments of grief and heartbreak. She shows us where our energy is trapped, where we have been stifled in routines or others' expectations of us. And she whispers the liberation we will experience once we let ourselves break open and allow the new expression of ourself to come blazing through. She reminds us that we always have the power to choose to see every event as yet another opportunity to become more light, to become more of the radiant soul that we are here to be. The meditation for this card is, what heartbreak can I now see as an opportunity to expand? So what heartbreak can you now see as an opportunity to expand? You know, like I said before, I feel some of you have been really hurt, and you are now being given the opportunity of opening your heart back up to trusting and allowing more love in. But I think that there's more to that message for a lot of you as well. So how can you see the opportunities that are given even in the moments of greatest heartbreak. That's a hard thing to ask someone to do. But, you know, those moments of heartbreaks do offer opportunities. They do offer spiritual gifts. You know, we wonder sometimes why bad things have to happen in our lives. And that's a big philosophical question that I don't necessarily have the answer for. But the fact is they do happen, you know. We have to accept the reality of what it means to be alive. And what it means to be alive is that we do experience heartache. But within that heartache, is there something there? Is there some kind of beauty and light there? I'm reminded of that Leonard Cohen lyric. And now I can't remember the exact lyric, but he's like, the cracks. Oh, well, dang it, I can't remember the lyric. But it's sort of like, if you're broken, that's okay, because the cracks are what allow the light in. Somewhere out there, one of you watching knows that lyric that I'm talking about. If so, leave it in the comments for all of us to benefit from. It's a good lyric. So anyway, I think this has been a beautiful message for those of you who chose number 3. And for those of you who do have loved ones who've passed on, I think this is also just a confirmation for you guys that this person is still around you. And they still care about you, and they care about the heartaches that you have and are experiencing as well. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and move on to number 4. Thanks, guys. Let me know how you felt about this in the comments. All right, reading number 4 was the Queen of Swords. I'm just spraying a little bit of some room spray with, it's just water with some sage essential oil in it. And I also put rose essential oil in it as well, because I think it gives it a really nice scent. Plus, we deserve that, don't we? Okay. We deserve some rose in our lives. So for number 4, the Queen of Swords. So first we want to just think about, well, let me let you look at these different cards. This is the Queen of Swords from the Cosmic Tarot. This is from Tarot of the Cat People, and this is from the Steampunk Tarot. So the Queen of Swords is actually often known in tarot as the single woman card. So a lot of cards, it's just pulled and it just immediately signifies that. Of course, it depends on what the question is as well. But so first, let's ask, why is the Queen of Swords often so single? Well, for one thing, she's fiercely independent. She's also kind of a dominant personality. She's very strong in her masculine energy, which can be intimidating for a lot of people who have a romantic interest in her. Similar to some of the other cards we chose, she's someone who just doesn't really need someone else. She's fully capable of accomplishing whatever she wants to accomplish without needing there to be a partner on her by her side. And I think it's interesting in this depiction of the Queen of Swords, in the background we see a couple here, and this is the same couple from the Lover's card in this deck. And they're just off in their own world. They're not even thinking about her. And likewise, she's like, I don't care what's going on with them. You know, I've got my own things going on. She's not paying attention to them either. This is more of a typical image of the Queen of Swords, just, you know, on her own, doing her own thing, standing in her own integrity. And this is an interesting depiction of the card from the Steampunk Tarot, because she actually is being offered someone's hand here. Someone is offering her something. So she's not really as solo as she normally is represented as being. But, you know, she's still in her own power. It's still ultimately her choice whether or not she wants to stand up and fully embrace what is being offered here. Okay, so Queen of Swords folks who chose this reading, we're going to get into the tarot portion. Here, I'm just going to Shuffle a couple of times. This is the Everyday Witch Tarot. And we're going to ask first, we're going to ask Spirit, what do you all who chose this reading, what do you need to appreciate about the single life that you are currently leading? Because we all know that when we, just like the Selkie lost her skin, we all know that there are certain things that we enjoy about being single that we are going to lose if we get involved with someone. But also just generally speaking, what are some things that we need to really appreciate about this time? We get the Five of Pentacles. The Hermit has come up, I feel like, in at least 3 of the readings so far. So the Hermit card, which is, you know, a card of being single. And then the Emperor card. Okay. So I feel like the message I'm getting here is that being single actually kind of forces you to learn how to take charge of your life. Because when you're single, let's say if you're going through financial difficulties as someone who's single, some of you may actually be single parents as well who are watching. You know, it forces you to really, I'm going to make sure that my needs are met when I don't have maybe a second source of income or something along those lines. You know, with the Emperor is someone who takes charge. They're fully in control. They're not just letting their life lead them. They're leading life. They're making choices that will serve them for the long term. So, I mean, that's the initial message is appreciate that the struggles inherent in being single, especially as, you know, in relation to finances, those struggles have really strengthened your ability to take charge of your life and make what you want to make of it. Next, we want to ask, how can you best take advantage? So we've looked at what you need to appreciate, but how can you best take advantage of this time in your life? You get the Page of Pentacles, King of Pentacles, and the Nine of Cups. I think some of you actually are being asked to travel. Like, this is a good time to travel. It's also a good time if you've ever thought about living in a different location. This particular message came through in one of the other readings too, but if you've ever thought about moving to a different location, this would be a great time to do so because you don't have that other person to take into account. But it's also just a good time to travel and to pursue opportunities that you've always wanted to pursue. There's no reason that you need to wait for some king to come into your life or queen. There's no reason to wait for some partner to come along and fulfill these dreams and goals that you have. You can go ahead and take steps towards reaching those goals. If you have goals related to finances, again, this seems like a strong message for those of you who chose reading number 4. Again, take charge of your life. Be your own King of Pentacles. Create your own abundance and your own financial security. And also in terms of how you can enjoy or take advantage of this time in your life, I feel like with the Nine of Cups here, you know, just appreciating how much happiness you have in your life already, really enjoying what life has already given you. And, you know, even to the point of feeling like you don't need anything else or anyone else in order to feel fulfilled because you already are fulfilled within yourself. You're also just someone who's they're asking you to work on becoming more centered. And I know this is you hear this advice all the time, but meditation and spending time in nature would be really great things for you to do. to help focus yourself on the happiness and joy of the moment that you currently have. For those of you who are looking for love and feel maybe like you're blocked, let's ask what the block is. This card has come up so many times today. So the block for you maybe is that you get a little bit confused by having too many options right now. In the other readings, this card came through a little differently, but for you guys, this is actually blocking you. You are blocked maybe by having too many options. I think some of you are blocked also by focusing exclusively on love when you could be focused on higher learning or, you know, some kind of acts of altruism or just following your dreams or some kind of victory in some other area of your life, or, you know, thinking about, you know, what kind of home would be most satisfying to you, or focusing on your money. Some of you have just been focusing on love and expecting just that one aspect of your life to meet all of your needs. And of course, you're not feeling like your needs are met because you don't have that right now. But you have so many other areas of your life that need your focus. So Spirit is saying that is blocking you from love. The fact that you're focused exclusively on this love that you feel you don't have right now is your major block. The key to overcoming that block is the 9 of Wands. And what you will find when you unblock yourself is the 5 of Wands. So this is interesting. It's going to take me a second to understand what Spirit's saying here. So your block is that you're too focused on love. You're not focusing on the other opportunities that life is giving you right now in your time of singlehood. And let's get a clarifier for the 9 of Wands. We get the 2 of Pentacles. You know, I feel like you've encountered a lot of uncertainty in your life. And you're prepared for anything. With the 9 of Wands, you're prepared for anything. But you're also kind of anticipating the worst in a way. It's like, you know, this 2 of Pentacles on the right here, she's balanced on this seesaw, but this cat is jumping down onto this and is going to throw her off balance. I get a real sense that some of you have struggled financially as well. You've really been through a lot of struggles financially, and you're just always waiting for the other shoe to drop financially. Or if not in terms of finances, there's just been a lot of instability in your life, a lot of obstacles. So what is the message? How is this going to unblock the folks watching this? So when we get the 2 of Cups, 2 of Cups, 2 of Pentacles. Okay, so I feel like the message is you've been focused exclusively on love, but you've had so many bad experiences in love. Like you've been choosing the wrong people because you're so focused on filling that hole, what you perceive to be a hole or a void in your life, that you keep inviting people into your life that really create instability for you. You're choosing the wrong people, basically. So that's been a block to you. You're focused exclusively on love to the point that you've been willing time and again to choose the wrong person to invest your emotional energy and your time into. So they're just saying, stop doing that. Find someone who's actually nice to you, who actually creates stability, especially emotional stability. And when you do that, when you get to the other side of that, we get to the 5 of Wands, which is normally a card about conflict, but it's also a card about minor conflict. It's sort of about, you've had so many experiences where you've had major conflict and major instability in your life. You kind of just accept that as part of it. But and to some degree, maybe you might have a tendency to, when you're confronted with just a mild disagreement with someone, maybe your tendency based on your past is to blow that up into something bigger than it is, because it triggers all of these memories of conflict that you've experienced before. Probably not just through your romantic relationships, but I would imagine that this, kind of Nine of Wands indicates you've experienced conflict probably in childhood as well. A lot of struggles. So they're just saying you are learning how to invite emotional stability into your life by choosing the right person, and then understanding that there are going to be struggles. Struggles are inherent. Struggles and conflict are just a fact of life. And when you can accept that, you'll become more capable of realizing, what are the mountains and what are the molehills. Because if I'm having a molehill type of conflict in my relationship, then I need to treat it as a molehill. I don't need to turn everything into a big mountain when that's not what it is. I just want to pull a clarifier as well for the Five of Wands. So what you're going to find when you start choosing the right person, and don't just choose any old person who's going to fill that void, you're going to find that you are attracting more emotionally mature people. But yeah, these people, no matter how emotionally mature they are, they're still going to have issues, because we all have issues. They still might have times when they can't really express themselves to you, or they don't always have the exact comforting word or action to give to you. But I feel like it's sort of like being able to accept that nobody is perfect. You're choosing really imperfect people. You need to start choosing the better person, but also just having more acceptance that that we all have some minor flaws, and we can be willing to accept those minor flaws, because we also want our partner to be accepting of us and these minor flaws that we have. Okay, so that was pretty helpful information there, and distinctly different from the other readings. So finally, I'm going to pull some from these Love Bomb Kindness cards. I'm going to pull some messages from your higher self, your spirit guides, angels, ancestors, departed loved ones, whoever wants to give you a loving message of encouragement today. The first is, you're making a difference. So I'm going to let you interpret that for yourself, but someone up there in heaven is thinking that you are making a difference in the world, and that you need to be aware of that. You bring out the best in others. I admire your courage. I feel like some of you are actually being willing to stand up to the powers that be and create change in the world in some way. You're really acting with courage, and you're inspiring other people in the process. So the final little part of this reading is going to be, we're going to look at an oracle card from the Divine Feminine Oracle deck. And you're getting Catherine Labore. I find with this deck that there are just a handful of cards that repeat and repeat on me, and she's one of them. But I really like her. She is the patroness of miraculous healing. She says, I'm ready to heal. I'm worthy of the miracles meant for me. She is a saint because she witnessed a miracle where Mother Mary came to her and showed her this ring with all these sparkling jewels on it, and the jewels represented graces that are available to us. Some of them were shining and some of them were not. This is my recollection of the vision that she had. And she asked Mary, why are some of the jewels not shining? And Mary said, those are the graces that people don't know to ask for, or that people forget to ask for. So there are so many graces, or I think another word for that would just be gifts, there's so much help that heaven is willing to provide for us. And, you know, we neglect to ask. I mean, that's kind of the message, I think, of her story. Or that's the major point that I get out of it. Okay, so let's see what the guidebook says here for her. And then we'll conclude your reading. When your soul selects her card, it can feel effortless to ask for what our loved ones need. We can fall on our knees at times to pray for the health and highest possible outcome for our children and partners or friends. What's often far more difficult is asking for all that we need. For many of us, lack of self-worth can get in the way of realizing that we can ask for so much more, and that ultimately there is no difference between praying for our own needs and the needs of our loved ones. There are so many miracles, graces, and blessings that don't arrive simply because we don't ask for them. Spirit doesn't interfere with our intrinsic right to choose our own adventure story. Free will is ours, so we have to ask for Spirit to intervene in the effort of our own healing. Ask and you will find. This is a spiritual truth, and also suffering is optional. Suffering does not glorify us or make us more holy. At any point we can ask for the highest possible good to shower down on us. We can ask to be healed in ways we can't even imagine by handing that healing over to the divine. The healing might not arrive in the way we picture being healed. Our lower back may still throb with pain, but our heart has shifted, and there's a miraculous amount of light within our lives again. If we can hand over an attachment to what healing is going to look like, we can receive all the blessings waiting for us. So the meditation for this card is, what can I ask for help in healing? All right, I'm going to leave you with that thought and go ahead and move on to the next reading. I hope you enjoyed this. Make sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment if there's something you'd like to say about this reading today. You guys have a nice day. All right, those of you who chose the star card, reading number 5. Let's look here first at some different examples of the star card, and then we're going to talk about why she might tend to represent someone who's single. So this is from the Cosmic Tarot deck. I like a lot of their images, but this is particularly beautiful, I think. This is from the Steampunk Tarot. This is also very nice. And from Tarot of the Cat People. So the star is someone who is really shining. This could be someone who actually has some level of fame or notoriety. They're well known, well liked. Whether they're famous or not, this is someone who really stands out in some way. So they're, maybe they're like a star athlete, or they are really great at their job and they are highly respected in their field. This is someone who just has that kind of like elusive, that just wonderful quality that you can't even put your finger on. And, this is intimidating to people, understandably. So if someone is interested in someone who's a star, you might feel like, well, I'm just not ever going to shine quite as bright as them. So that's kind of the position you put people in who have a romantic interest in you. They might have a little bit of a fear of coming forward because you just come across as so just brilliant, and they're not quite sure they can measure up. So first we're going to look at what Spirit has to say to you about what you maybe should appreciate about this time in your life where you find yourself being single. What do you need to appreciate more about this time in your life? We get the King of Cups, the Lovers, and the Knight of Wands. Okay. Let me try to zoom in here a little bit. So the King of Cups, the Lovers, and the Knight of Wands in terms of what you need to appreciate. I feel like you all are kind of trying to find a balance between finding the person who's really going to be loving and attentive, and then the person who's also going to bring that spark and that vitality into your life. So, we've all met people who it's like, oh yeah, he's a really nice guy. He's always doing nice things for me, but the spark just isn't there. So I kind of am getting a message about that this is a good time in your life to, to be able to draw in someone who really balances out all of the needs that you have in a relationship. So yeah, that's kind of the primary message I'm getting for you all. In terms of what to appreciate more. I think also some of you actually are being asked to appreciate your fathers more. So if there's some issues you need to heal with your father, I think it would maybe be a good time, to focus on healing those issues. Maybe some forgiveness of your father opens you up more to the possibilities of romance, if that's something that you're interested in. What else? Let's see. So what would be the best way to focus your energies, or how could you best take advantage of this time that you have when you are single and you don't have to worry about someone else's needs and all of that? So I've kind of get the feeling like, for one thing, you don't have to feel guilty about doing things on your own. So like if you want to go to the movies on your own, you don't have to feel guilty about excluding someone else from some aspect of your life. You don't have to feel secretive or something. Let me clarify the Seven of Swords here. It feels like there are some things that you want to embark upon, some passions or interests that you have that maybe you're not even sure how to share those interests with another person. Maybe those interests are a little obscure or just something that's not mainstream, and you just want to, you still want to focus on that. You want to bring something to fruition, but I don't know, I'm not. And then I'm getting the Queen of Pentacles. I think it's just like a time when you can really focus on meeting your own needs. I think is the message. It's just about meeting your own needs without feeling guilty. That's basically it. Maybe some of the needs that you want to fulfill right now, or the ambitions you want to fulfill right now, are ones that you think a partner might not appreciate for some reason. So I don't know what exactly that means. Maybe that has some significance to those of you who are watching, but that's sort of the feeling that I get here, is just it's time to pursue those projects or interests that if you were in a relationship, you might feel the need to keep hidden for some reason. And you... yeah, I don't know. That's sort of what I'm getting. Hopefully that makes some kind of sense to those of you who are watching. We also want to ask, for those of you who are single and are looking for love, who want to be partnered up, what is blocking you from that? We get the Tower. And what's the key to unblocking you in love? The Page of Wands. And what will you find on the other side of that blockage? The Seven of Cups. Well, I feel like some of you are blocked by a breakup, like a really tumultuous breakup, or some other really almost catastrophic event in your life. So maybe it's a breakup, maybe it's just something else you've been through that was just pretty traumatic, and you are having trouble moving on from that. I do feel like for most of you this is about a breakup, because when we look at the Page of Wands card, we see, this person here is going in a different direction from this cat. And I don't know how much the image shows up on here, but yeah, you can kind of see. To me, it looks like the cat really wants this girl, young woman, to follow it. And it feels like that's probably not going to happen. It feels like they're both going to be moving off in different directions. So I feel like you guys are still just, maybe it's just the blockage is really that it's just not quite time yet. You're still in the process of moving on from this other person. And I feel like it's sort of like, being able to have a sense of serenity and calmness right now, as you are taking those steps off in your own direction. And what you're going to find on the other side of that, the further you get along on this journey away from this past relationship, the more you're going to find, you're starting to have those feelings again. Eventually those feelings for someone else are going to come back. And I feel like you're going to have romantic options as well. It's not just going to be one person, but you're going to really start to feel your heart open up, and you're going to start to feel that interest again in different people. And that will be wonderful to be able to have those emotions again for someone new, these new romantic opportunities. All right, and finally, not finally, so the next part of the reading, we're going to look at some, just to give you a little bit of love and encouragement, some messages from the Love Bombs kindness cards. So I'm intending these to be messages, so like from your higher self, or from some other heavenly helper like spirit guides, angels, departed loved ones, ancestors. So the first message is, okay, I'm excited for your big change. Wishing you the best. I feel like there was something else in the message that made me think you all had a big change. Well, you had the Tower card, so they're wishing you the best for whatever big change you're encountering in your life. I hope my kid grows up to be like you. That is kind of like the highest compliment, I feel like. I hope my kid grows up to be like you. And your generosity is inspiring. So that's what heaven would like you to know right now. That's the love they would like to send you in this moment. And finally, to wrap up this reading today, we are going to look at a card from the Divine Feminine Oracle Guidebook. And the card that's coming up for you guys is, I'm certain I'm mispronouncing this, but Miao Shan, the Princess of Mercy. It says, giving is receiving, the energy of the universe is merciful. And we've already gotten a message here that you're a very generous person. So let's see more about what this card has to say. Let me look her up here. Just a moment. I don't know why, but they don't have these in alphabetical order, and they're not numbered or anything. So it just makes it, you have to look through the table of contents for the name. And okay, so that would be kind of my major complaint about this deck. Although I do think it's a very beautiful deck, and I generally think the messages are very on point. Okay, when your soul selects her card, it says, the author Sue Monk Kidd articulates the process of empathy so clearly when she writes, empathy is the most mysterious transaction that the human soul can have, and it's accessible to all of us, but we have to give ourselves to the opportunity to identify, to plunge ourselves in a story where we see the world from the bottom up, or through another's eyes or heart. Empathy is mercy's twin sister, When we can feel into the reality of someone else's suffering, we open up to the possibility of mercy. Mercy comes from the old Etruscan merc, which means exchange. Mercy is the embodiment of compassion. It can feel easy or even natural to have compassion for people who have never harmed us, but mercy is having compassion for someone who has hurt us. And some of you are still feeling hurt, I think, from a past breakup. Let's see. Mercy requires that we give something of ourselves, which is symbolized by Mao Shan giving her eyes and arms to the king in order to save his life. It can feel like a great sacrifice to be so giving towards someone who has given us nothing but suffering. Here's where the magic comes in. The law of the universe is merciful. The more we give, the more we receive. When the king realized the profound act of mercy his daughter bestowed on him, Mao Shan transformed into her true manifestation as the 1,000-armed Kuan Yin. So I didn't give you the backstory on her, but she is the human embodiment of the goddess Kuan Yin, and what she did was, her father was he was a very abusive guy, and he wanted to limit and restrict her life, and she went off and did her own thing, and at some point he was in danger of dying, and the only way that he could continue to live was if he had the eyes and arms of a person without anger. And so because she had no anger, she did give her eyes and arms to him in order to allow him to live. So anyway, so the message says, it can feel like a great sacrifice to be so giving towards someone who has given us nothing but suffering. Here's where the magic comes in. The law of the universe is merciful. The more we give, the more we receive. When the king realized the profound act of mercy his daughter bestowed on him, she transformed into her manifestation as Kuan Yin. Mao Shan is a reminder that giving is the true receiving. When we refuse to release our anger towards someone, we're blocking the flow of the universe within us. We are not harming the person who harmed us by remaining angry. We are keeping ourselves from receiving the love and light that is already ours. And then the meditation for this card is, who can I give mercy to in this moment? I feel like I want to go back to this card here because it really is kind of a serene moment after the Tower card experience, which is very upsetting. There is a sense here, there's some sorrow in this parting of ways, but it's sort of like a gentle acceptance of it as well. And I feel like, the more you can get your heart into a place of mercy for someone who probably hurt you, and you probably hurt them too. But the more you can get into a place of mercy towards this person, the more contentment and happiness you'll find in your path moving forward, away from them. So I feel like that is pretty much the message for those of you who chose the Star card today. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know in the comments. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and give it a like. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.